I drew every X-Men in one drawing. The amount of time that it took was over 25 hours. 3 years ago, my dad asked me to draw Wolverine for his birthday, and I didn't. Until about 6 months ago. I drew Wolverine and made a video about it, but it wasn't big enough, it wasn't grand, it needed flair. So, naturally, rather than just doing one character, why don't I do 12? I didn't record the sketch of it. It just means you get to watch the better parts quicker. As always, the first stage is always getting a great sketch. Roughing out the lines and the gesture, giving out the action and the tone of it. And the second part is building form and shape around those lines. Once you have finished with the 2D shapes, you can make those shapes into 3D forms. Then you build upon that with muscle. Then we move on to the outline, which is, in my opinion, the most fun pre-color stage. It gives a feel of permanence and contrast to the piece. The contrast draws the eye toward the subject of focus. This is usually where you have drawn a line or where you haven't. Your eye spots the smaller parts that are 20% to the 80%. If it sees a lot of red and a tiny bit of blue, it'll instantly notice that blue. Then, when that is all done, we move on to the detailing, adding small strokes to convey form, or maybe some cross-hatching here and there to add some shading. Maybe it's just finishing up what you didn't do in the outline, because like me, you're probably lazy. We're all lazy, it's okay. And once that is all done and dusted, you call it a day and move on to the next bit. Part 3. It's colouring time, boys. We need to choose colours. Dominant colours. Colours that will take up most of your screen. Once you have them, you add all of the flats on top of the outline, or in my case, underneath, because I have layers and I can do that. And then, once you have all of your flats done, you then add shading. Usually, for me, because I use software like Photoshop, I add a multiply layer. Unfortunately, I don't really add that multiply layer for like a while. I change it later, but you'll just have to suffer with me with the consequence of my choices. Anyway, then you add the highlights, which is the exact opposite of the the shading. Part 4, the feather duster. The bit that entails the final polish of the image, adding haze to the backdrop, glow for the gold, just the tiny details that can make a huge difference to the final piece. Once this is all done and dusted, you get this beautiful image right here. The final drawing was amazing. Still, there were some bits that were like, but I mean, hey, this took 25 hours. I was not doing more than 10 minutes more of this. I am already mentally drained from this thing. But alas, I sent the image to my dad, and he loved it. So what does this tell us exactly? Well, here is a cup to explain it. This cup represents your brain power, and this cup, the time you put into a drawing, and this one, the amount of effort that is put into the drawing. Now, the drawing that I just did and I've showed you was looking a bit like this. Bubbles. A lot of power put into the time aspect, but only this much put into the effort. I mean, it's a bit more than that, but you get the idea. Basically, what I'm trying to say is I put a lot of time into it, but not a lot of effort. You want to have more effort in your drawings. It doesn't matter how much time that you put into a drawing. If there is not enough effort put into it, it will not look good. Now, you might think that my drawing does look good, but if we compare it to the other one, the Wolverine image, there is quite a difference, especially from the highlights and the proportions of the body. I mean, it looks just so much better. And there are a few little mistakes here and there, but that's just a given because that was like 6 months ago. But this more recent drawing feels less good than the original, simply because the other one looks like this. That's why I got the table. All better now. So, from the original drawing, this is the amount of water that was in the effort cup, and this was the amount that was in the time. I mean, again, exaggerated, but the point is, I put a lot more effort into the other drawing, and the results are very clear. Sure, again, it's just a character floating in space, but does it look good? Yes, it does. That's the point. The point that I'm proving with this video is that you need to put more effort into your drawings